NPC Gamecast.
Let's go to Shane's one-man review of Gintama.
My review of Gintama is, as a fan of the show, I liked it. It was fun. I hated the change. Well, I hated like one change they did right at the end that annoyed me. Other than that, it was great. I think 2 of the actors were terrible. The CGI was awful.
Oh, really?
But like they knew. Everyone knew.
Okay.
The character design though on like the aliens was cool. It's like cheesy prosthetics and shit. Like it was. At first, it was a bit jarring. Like there was a point where they're like tiger people, and they just didn't move the mouse. They just didn't bother.
Is it?
It was awesome.
Is it because this is the type of show that can get away with that?
I mean, they could. There's even a point where one of the characters is this big white duck-looking thing, and it's a dude in a suit, and they just straight up reference that. They're like, wow, as a movie, it's just clearly a dude in a suit. Like, they straight up break the fourth wall.
So they can get away with it.
Yeah. They added some stuff that wasn't in the arc, which was really awesome. And then at the same time, they added something that was really annoying. They kind of like threw in a fight that didn't need to be there, but it was kind of like in the anime, it leaves as like setting this guy up. And in the movie, they were kind of like, I don't think we'll get a sequel. Let's just have them fight now. And it kind of ruined the character by doing it. Going into it as someone who's never seen it before, I don't know how well it holds up.
So this is why it's going to be interesting for me. I have the least experience with it. I'm just going to go in just.
I mean, so did Jared, and I went and saw it with Jared, and there was.
He likes. I'm not big on subtitle comedy, even though I'm reading and watching My Gal right now, but because it's so fast, I can't read it.
Me and him laughed at 2 jokes like hard. The rest of them were good chuckles, which I guess is fine for
chuckles good. I like the feeling of wanting to laugh.
The start was so bad. They showed the first episode and then they cut to the characters talking, saying, "Hey, we can't do this. We promised them blah 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 arc, like breaking the fourth wall," and they did it with this shitty 3D animation that was awful. And Jared looked at me and he's like, "What are we doing?" Like it was so bad that if it continued, we would have left. Then it thankfully got rid of that. And then
does it start from an arc? Like just starts in the middle?
It starts actually a couple of episodes before an arc.
Oh, okay.
So
they get you backstory.
It shows the first episode where it introduces the main character and the sidekick. Yeah, you watched the first episode, right?
Yes.
It shows the one where they're in the scene and the 2 cat people trip over the dude and they go to beat up the boy.
Oh, yeah,
and the Gintama they show that. And then it quickly cuts to the arc. And then what they do is every time a character is on screen for the first time, it stops and then gives you a quick little description. That's how they filled you in backstory.
Yeah. Okay.
And then after that, it was just like, they just...
That's an interesting way in a movie aspect.
Yeah. I mean, it worked for some people, but it didn't work with every person. Because some people, there was just too much little details.
Oh, no, I was just thinking, like, when you watch an anime and a character comes on screen, it's like, poof, and it like, talks about them kind of thing. Whereas in a movie, that's so weird, it just like pauses the movie and tells you about it. Actually, Suicide Squad did that at the beginning of it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
That worked. Yeah.
This only did it in the first 10 minutes. Like the opening sequence, it just hard cut to people. They kind of did like a Jackass thing where like they're like running through the streets and they would see people and then it would like zoom in on them and give you a little detail and then like go back to the running. It was okay. My main complaint about it though is one of the main characters, the girl. I hated her actress. She could fucking die and that movie would have been better.
What's the main guy like?
Main guy's fine.
He gave you the Gintama feel?
He's not 100% what I would want, but he's acceptable.
Yeah.
The guy with the glasses is probably the most spot-on character.
What about the dog?
The dog was so badly CGI'd. It was so bad.
Oh, wait, the fights. The fights. Choreography.
The fights were actually pretty good. I think the fights were the best part of it.
I figured that's the part you'd kind of hope they could nail, considering that's the one that probably translate almost the best.
Yeah, but in saying that, the fights are like the middle point and the end point. There's a lot to get to to get you there.
What was it like? Predominantly action, predominantly comedy?
Predominantly comedy. More comedy. I mean, it's like Gintama. It's more comedy than action. I just don't know how you would go into it. There was a point near the end where they just started talking like it was weird because they had changed some things to try and get newer crowds into it, and then at the end they kind of just gave up on that and started talking like you should know who these people are, and Jared's like, who the fuck's that?
It sounds like during the script They had one guy who knows the show, the other one's like, I know people, and they just, yeah.
It's weird. They kind of like made changes to keep things a bit better for a movie standpoint and make things, as I said, newer for a new audience, and then threw it out at the end.
What about sound? Sound design, quality, theme?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was all great.
I guess that's... Did they use any sound from the anime? Any themes or anything? Or was it just purely their own?
Probably the battle music, if I think about it. I'm not sure about that, though, because I can't really remember. Oh, one thing that didn't translate. There's some anime jokes that do not translate to live action.
Like what?
Or maybe it's just the way they do it. Like a lot of slaps. Whenever they... You know in anime when they, like... A character punches someone out of combat and it's really like... Oh, and they fall.
Yeah, I was always wondering how that...
Ooh, that does not translate to
I need to see that so badly.
Like, someone would get hit and, like, the background would might blur or something just to show the impact. And it, like, and you're like, oh, that went way too long. And how we kept saying is, like, they should never have emphasized it. The person should have just been hit and it should have been over with. And it's sad. It makes me sad.
Because that always makes me think of, like, when you watch something like Fast and Furious, like Vin Diesel kicks someone and they get thrown so fucking hard. You're like, that was not from him. That was strings. It was over the top.
Yeah, but
still okay.
But picture that they tried to put the impact by, like, a shockwave coming from it. And that's what the punches were in the anime.
Or like CGI shockwave?
Yeah.
All right. I need to see it, definitely.
Like, the main character would get slapped, and as I said, like a thing would pulse from the slap, like, to make it really dramatic and, like, nani! But, like...
That sounds
like,
funny.
Oh. And there was some good anime references where I'm sure they went over everyone's head except anime lovers.
Oh, that's good. If it's anime stuff, then at least I know I could get that.
I'm sure you'll get all the anime references. And then, like, the local references was a bit hard. A couple of jokes that didn't translate well. Like, there was one reporter.
Did they keep it to a minimum of that?
There was, like, 2 or 3 jokes where I was like, it doesn't translate to Western. Like, there was one of the reporters. She introduced herself. She's like, my name is da-da-da, reporting here. And every time she spoke, she would say her name. And she would always cut back to a studio who would always be like, what's your name? And they just kept getting her to say her name. And then I Googled it later, and her name was like a dirty word or something.
Ah, okay.
So it would have been funny if they translated it to like, hi, my name's Arsehole or something.
Ah, okay.
Arsehole here reporting at da-da-da-da. Arsehole, what are you doing down there? I am Arsehole, and I am looking at the current... they didn't do it like that. They just kept the Japanese word, and I was like, what's that? So go into it.
All right. So, as a fan, what do you rate it?
Parts of it I rate it highly, and parts of it I rate it poorly. Overall, I'd give it a 7.
Solid 7.
I'm glad I went to the
Or an
pictures.
edging 7, hanging on 7. What? High 7.
As a fan, it was worth the watch.
It was worth the watch as a fan.
As a non-fan, I think it might just be like, there's nothing else to do. I'll check this. But then my issue is, again, it's not like I wanted this movie to be like good, and then Jared to turn to me and go, okay, I'll start the anime, and then I whip my dick out and start going for it because I'm so excited. It was okay. You know what I mean? Like, that's all the response I got from it at the end of it.
That's what I mean. To bring people in, I think you need more of the origin then to do that. Compared to just throwing
not
someone
really.
into that.
This arc's not anything like they didn't. The arc's not like starting from, say, Frieza in Dragon Ball, right? If you start at the Frieza arc, you'd be like, "Oh, there's some stuff we should clarify," right?
Anything in Z is not where you want to start.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, this arc was a bit more like standalone-ish. I can see why they chose it. There's nothing like you didn't need to see those because, as me and Aaron have said, those first 30 or something episodes don't string together. Yeah. There's an overarching... The plot in the first 30 or 40 episodes of Gintama isn't plot, it's character development. That's it. So you don't need to know that shit.
Yeah.
It's just that when the dude's painting the tree with mayonnaise, it helps to know that the dude is obsessed with mayonnaise. Yeah, rather than getting a 2-second little thing at the bottom saying he likes mayonnaise.
Well, depending on how they do it, that might come across, but any movie where you jump into a certain point, it can be annoying when you don't know the characters and who they are and what they are, unless you have little scenes that tell you.
No, I get that, but I just feel like it's fine. It's just...
It sounds like you got a hard sell because you got the Gintama manga fans, you got the Gintama anime fans, Gintama both fans, then you got, okay, now what if an anime fan watches this? And then you got, what if a person's not an anime fan, but they love Japanese movies. You know, like
Gintama's got a weird fan base though, because like you know how like most fan base hate filler. Gintama fan base love filler because filler is just like unique little jokey stories because filler fits in Gintama.
Are you saying since Pirate Bay has been getting taken down, even though you can go find it, should I risk getting Gintama through legal reasons?
I don't know. I feel like if you didn't like the anime, you probably wouldn't like the live action because like.
No, I can tell you right now, I would like the anime. I can't read that fast. That's the only thing.
I mean, but the manga, the anime would do. The live action does it too because it's got that fast talking dude and
but maybe because
a lot of jokes are hit and get out of their type jokes.
Maybe because they're not anime voice actors that are designed to rap through things. I might be able to see their lips and have a better understanding of character facial expression, stuff like that.
Maybe I would say it's worth watching for the lolicon guy and the.
Is there any hot chicks?
Yeah. The two hottest girls in that show are the two worst actors that bring that show down for me, and it shames me. It shames me that it's one of the main characters too. Her acting is awful, and anything she does
designed to be awful, or like I wasn't directed properly or understood.
But I can't tell.
Oh wait, you can't.
She's speaking Japanese. Yeah. I just knew she was shit. Like
that's annoying.
When the two characters I didn't like interacted, I was like, let this end. Because I remember it being in the anime and a moment where I smiled and had like this like shit-eating grin on my face. I'm like, I like this. And when it happened in the movie, I was like, oh, end this scene. I was like, end it.
All right, if this can be rented, I will rent it.
Well, I don't know if you should. I don't know. See, I'm worried for someone who doesn't like Gintama. I don't know if you get that. If you watch it with Aaron, I think you'd get more enjoyment out of it. But, you know.
But that's the thing. I like the idea of going in, like, just dry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually fun. Makes me feel better.
I wish there was a little bit of lube, though, before to get you going.